Each year, snowbirds from the north flock to South Florida in the winter. This year, those heading south included these folks. And because they did, there's baseball in South Florida in the fall. The Florida Marlins began their postseason with a 3-game sweep of the Giants in the divisional playoffs. Then they stormed into Atlanta to take Game 1 of the NLCS. This season, the Marlins compiled baseball's best home record. And tonight, the Marlins are home for the first ever League Championship Series game played in the state of Florida. Their high spirits dampened a bit, though, by yesterday's news that their #2 pitcher is lost for the rest of the postseason and maybe beyond. Tonight's pitchers present a sharp contrast. The Braves' John Smoltz is a 10-year veteran. Tonight, he makes his 20th postseason start. His opponent, 23-year-old Marlin rookie left-hander Tony Saunders. Hey, down in front. Game 3 next.
NBC Sports presents the National League Championship Series. Tonight, it's Game 3. The Atlanta Braves versus the Florida Marlins.
It rained much of the day in South Florida, at times heavily, but the field is uncovered. No rain falling now. We're hopeful that we'll get Game 3 in without interruption. The Marlins will go with rookie left-hander Tony Saunders, just 4-6, but remarkably 3-0 against Atlanta, and that's why they'll hand him the ball tonight. On the other side, John Smoltz, a 15-12 regular season, won his division series start against Houston with a complete Game 3 hitter. That takes his career postseason mark to a glittering 10-2. Hi again, everybody, with Mr. Baseball Bob Uecker and Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. I'm Bob Costas. Before we talk about tonight's pitching pairing, let's talk about the situation with Alex Fernandez. He has a torn right rotator cuff. He is obviously out for the rest of the postseason. The interesting thing is, a week ago tonight in San Francisco, we broadcast the game, Uecker, as the Marlins completed the sweep against the Giants. You wouldn't have thought there was anything wrong with Fernandez. He threw the heck out of the ball.
Well, it was vintage Fernandez in that ball game. He had an excellent fastball. He was consistently in the 90s. One after another. The other thing that he had to go along with it was a great slider.
Well, let's take a look at the difference in Game 2. You can see here he's dropping down a little bit more, not getting the same hop on his fastball. We now know that was because of the rotator cuff. Let's take a look at the averages. High in the game against the Giants was 94, low is a 90. 91 and 84 against the Braves. The speeds alone are not the thing that alarms you, but the lack of movement on his fastball. By the time they got to the 3rd inning against the Braves, his fastball was dead straight.
So in the long term, there's concern for Alex Fernandez's career. But in the short term, the concern is what this does to the pitching rotation for the Florida Marlins. And Jim Gray talked with Jim Leland about that.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. I'm now joined by Jim Leland, the manager of the Marlins. And, of course, the loss to Alex Fernandez is huge. What exactly does that do to your pitching staff now, Jim?
Well, we were going to obviously use Livan Hernandez in that spot, Jim. But now, you know, we've got another problem that compounded. Brownie's sick tonight. He's not at the park. The doctors felt it would be better for him to stay home. He's got a little bit of a stomach problem. And, you know, is scheduled to pitch tomorrow, but he's not here tonight. So right now we haven't had a whole lot of good news. But, you know, we'll get through this thing. And, you know, it's almost, Jim, to be honest with you, you know, if Brownie can't pitch tomorrow, we're going to have to go day to day, you know. But normally, if Brownie's ready tomorrow, you know, Hernandez will fill in for Alex Fernandez.
You've also got a problem in left field. Moses Alou, the left wrist. What is his status for tonight, and what are you going to do in left field?
Well, Jimmy, he's really not a problem anymore. He's ready to go. He swung the bat in the cage, and he's feeling fine. He's really, I don't know if he's 100%, but he certainly wanted to play tonight. I opted to go with John Cangelosi, who is one of the few guys, I guess, anywhere in the league that's had a little success against John. So I just felt like, hey, give Mo another day, give him another blow tonight, have him ready for Nagel tomorrow. But he is ready to go, and we'll play in this game if we need him.
You've had a lot happen to you in just a couple of days, and you've been in a lot of these series. Anything quite like this before to you?
No, it's a little weird. You know, Jim, we thought we had our best made plans, and, you know, right now it looks like they've all kind of gone astray. But, you know, it's really not that big a deal. We can still pitch lighter in the game. We're pitching Saunders tonight. And I think really, for us, we have to zero in on tonight's game. It has no really effect on tonight because Saunders is pitching, and I can use Hernandez if I have to. You know, so the crippling thing would be if Brownie wasn't ready in 2 days from now. You know, we might even get by tomorrow, probably go with lighter tomorrow. you know, if Brownie couldn't go tomorrow. But if by chance, you know, this thing it lingers on, you know, into Sunday, where I can't pitch him, then to be honest with you, I'm going to ask Joe and Uecker and Bob Costas what the heck I'm supposed to do.
You're not going to me, I'm sure of that. Thanks, Jim. Hope things get better. Back upstairs to you, Bob.
Let's hope they never find themselves in such desperate straits. So to make it clear, if there is a Game 6, Alex Fernandez's start will be taken by the Cuban defector, the rookie right-hander Livan Hernandez. Tonight, another rookie, this one from the left side, Tony Saunders against Smoltz.
What a contrast in styles tonight, Bob. Tony Saunders features a change of pace. That's what all the hitters talk about against him. On the other side, we know John Smoltz. Great power pitcher, excellent fastball. He's got a great slider and a beautiful split-fingered fastball to go along with it. Strictly power from John Smoltz.
So they split the first 2 games in Atlanta. Now to Pro Player Stadium in Florida. Games 3, 4, and 5 over the weekend. We'll check the lineups and have the first pitch of Game 3 in a moment. They're calling it fish fever down here, and no question that Pro Player Park will be rocking tonight. Here's the Braves lineup. With the left-hander Saunders going. Lofton continuing to struggle. Blauser moves up to second in the order. Chipper Jones, who's red hot. You see his figures, a homer in each of the first 2 games. Fred McGriff, the cleanup man. Javi Lopez moves up to 5th in the order. Andrew Jones in right instead of Michael Tucker. Klesko drops down to 7th, and although Keith Lockhart has played well, Tony Graffinino, a right-handed batter, will play second base and hit 8th, and Smoltz, of course, is the pitcher.
And the scouting report on Tony Saunders. Good fastball. Good strikeout to walk ratio, very important. Does not give up hits in clusters. If he does, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He features a very, very good change of pace. That's what most of the Braves hitters talked about, his change of pace.
And let's take a look at the defense. And this features one of the great defensive players in the game today, Charles Johnson, behind the plate. He made an error in Game 2, but didn't have much to do with the outcome of the ball game. He is a great receiver.
Uecker, we're talking about the changeup featured by Tony Saunders. There are some guys who will show you the changeup just to get you off balance, just to show you a change of speeds. He throws it a lot and tries to throw it for strikes, not to just showcase it.
No, you're right, Bob. And you know, it's a funny thing because the changeup feeds off the fastball. I mean, your fastball is what makes your changeup that much better. But every guy you talk to about Tony Saunders says this guy's got a great changeup, and he throws it consistently, and he tries to throw it for strikes. He doesn't try to get you to go chasing.
3-0 against Atlanta, 1-6 with an ERA of almost 6 against the rest of the league. The only team besides the Braves he beat, the Phillies, on September 17th. What a contrast. Kenny Lofton really was the igniter for the Cleveland Indians the past few years at the top of that order, just disrupting a game on the bases, at the plate, timely hits, Gold Glove defense. He's not the same player this year, and it seems strange to say because the batting average for the regular season reached .333. Ball one from Saunders. Mike Winters is the plate umpire. Jerry Lane at first, Eric Gregg at second, Frank Pulley at third. Bruce Fremming has the left field line. Charlie Williams calls the plays in right field. Hit to short, Renteria takes care of Lofton, who's now 3 for 24 in this postseason. And a lot of Atlanta fans, it's not fair, but as Kenny is trotting back to the dugout, a lot of Atlanta fans are saying, hey, the guy who used to be our center fielder, Marquise Grissom, won last night's game for Cleveland with a home run.
Well, I agree that's not fair because Lofton did a lot of great things for the Braves this year as well.
Blauser to the plate. 3:08 for the season. Ball one from Saunders.
Back-to-back fastballs to Blauser from Saunders, and his fastball normally in the 88, 89, 90 range. He can get up in that area, but again, he feeds off the change of pace.
Called strike. Saunders says his idol is Tom Glavine.
Well, he pitches similar to Glavine. Glavine gave him a tip. He said it turned his season around. but he has to throw strikes early in this ball game.
Popped wide of first. Dalton over for a look. No play. There's Tom Glavine, masterful. His Game 2 victory, which evened the series at 1 apiece. And the count holds at 2-2 to Blauser. Tony Saunders had elbow problems a couple of years ago. Then came back to go 13-4 for Portland, Maine, but that's Double-A ball a year ago. Jumped over Triple-A to the majors this year. Did he hold up? Yes, he did. Full count.
The check swing by Blauser. There's the breaking ball in the dirt. And Blauser with a check swing, and a good call by the first base umpire, Jerry Lane.
The rain begins to fall, and it doesn't start as a drizzle. A moment ago, it wasn't raining at all. Now it is pouring. A swing and a miss, and a high fastball, and down he goes.
One thing about Saunders, he will strike out a lot of hitters if he stays in this ball game, because he has 2 strikeout pitches, that 90-plus mile-an-hour high fastball and the changeup and off-speed pitches that he throws.
It can't be much longer before the tarp comes out if this keeps up. Ball 1 to Chipper Jones.
Talking with Bobby Cox about the playing conditions of the field, and he said it's choppy. It's not all that good. They've used a lot of paint here. Football, of course. Miami Dolphins play here, and he said the outfield is pretty well chewed up. Dolphins areas behind second base, Bob.
Dolphins played here last Sunday against Kansas City. Here's a drive to deep right center field. In pursuit is Devon White. White to the fence and makes the catch. And then nonchalantly tosses it back over his head for an LCS souvenir. Great play by the 7-time Gold Glover.
And you get a look at why Devon White is a Gold Glove center fielder. I mean, he just runs this ball down. He went a long way in the right center field to take this drive, and then he flips it up into the crowd.
Now to the Marlin batting order, and at the top we see John Cangelosi 10 for 19 with 5 walks lifetime against John Smoltz. Moises Alou just 3 for 27 lifetime against the Atlanta right-hander, and Jim Eisenreich, who started for Alou in left field in Game 2, just 2 for 25. In fact, Jim Leland told us that if Alou had been 100% and he wanted to use him in left field tonight, he would have played Cangelosi in center just to get the switch hitter in there against Smoltz.
And he would have a man at second base now. Cangelosi would not have made that catch that Devon White made.
And Smoltz starts him with a strike. Cangelosi hit .245 for the season. Chipper Jones in close at third as he fouls it back. There was speculation before Game 2 that the Marlins were trying to convince everybody that Alou's problem was a hamstring problem, so that the Braves would think he'd be available perhaps for pinch hitting duty. But then Jim Leland almost casually passed our Jim Gray on his way to the dugout minutes before game time and said, no, it's his wrist. So when Jim passed that information along to a national television audience, I guess the secret was pretty much gone.
One thing about Leland, if you ask him a question, you will get an honest answer.
The 1-2 pitch. Hit back over the mound. Blauser charging, throwing, and getting him.
And let's take a look at the scouting report that we have on John Smoltz. Overpowering fastball, great slider. He actually has the best stuff on the entire Atlanta Braves staff. He does not have to hit the corners. His best stuff can come over the middle of the plate, and you still will not beat up on him. So he's just a great pitcher with great stuff. You have to hit the fastball in order to beat him.
Renteria takes a strike. As you may be able to tell, between innings, the rain first subsided and now appears to have stopped. And it's been like that off and on all day. Oh, 0-2.
Again, the Florida Marlins facing yet another Cy Young Award winner as you look at the Atlanta Braves defense with Andrew Jones in right field. And tomorrow they get Denny Nagel, a 20-game winner.
A ball and 2 strikes. Smoltz was 1-0 against the Marlins this year. 5-2 for his career. Fastball in the mid-90s, hard slider to go with it. And Renteria becomes his first strikeout victim. And Joe, in addition to the fastball and hard slider, when he became able to get the splitter over for strikes, that's when he went from being good to an all-star.
Well, you're right, but the real difference, as I said, is he doesn't have to pitch to the edges. He pitched inner half, outer half. That's the way he pitches. He does not have to hit the exact corners to be successful.
He's a lot different than Glavine and Maddox, too, isn't he, Joe? And the fact that in difference to those two guys who won't give up to a spot, this guy comes right at you. I mean, if it's right down the pipe, you know it's going to have some velocity behind it and that great splitter to go along, too.
He faces one of the great fastball hitters in the game, Gary Sheffield. What was it that Dusty Baker told us a week ago in San Francisco? He said, I don't care if you send it up there with a bazooka. If Gary Sheffield is on, he'll turn on that fastball.
Well, he has such a quick bat that you see hits most of his ball to left field, because anything middle of the plate in, he will pull.
A ball and a strike. When you look at Smoltz throwing a fastball in the mid-90s and then the hard slider around 90 or 91, I'm not saying it's J.R. Richard territory, because J.R. was 100 and the slider was in the mid-90s, but it's the same kind of idea, isn't it?
Well, when you get to those numbers, it really doesn't make a big difference. You're right.
Is Tom Seaver another one where the comparison might apply? The very good fastball and the terrific hard slider to go with it?
You're right. There are a lot of guys who have had good fastballs and good sliders. And John Smoltz mixes in the off-speed pitch. That's what made him so good the last couple of years. He's been able to control all of his pitches. But he basically comes at you with hard stuff.
Ahead of Sheffield, 1-2. And a fastball gets in on his fist. Smoltz will make the play himself. And like Saunders, he works a perfect first. No score after 1. McGriff, Lopez, and Andrew Jones against Tony Saunders in the second. When you look for reasons why Saunders has been so effective against the Braves, the first thing you think about, ball 1 high and away, is the left-handed hitters. Lofton, McGriff, Ryan Klesko, neutralizing them a bit, turning Chipper Jones around to the right side where he's less of a threat. And yet, if you check the numbers, the Braves were 27-14 against lefty starters this year. Saunders has simply been very effective. Beat them 5-1, 11-5, and 1-0. And in his 1-0 decision against Tom Glavine, he carried a shutout into the 8th. Lofted behind third base into shallow left field. Renteria, Bonilla, Cangelosi. Renteria into foul ground for the backhanded attempt, but unable to come up with it.
The ball, and maybe John Cangelosi should have made the call on. Renteria runs a long way for that ball. He took a look at Cangelosi coming on, and Cangelosi's right behind him.
He just fanned on it.
And Cangelosi may have had the better chance to catch that ball because he's coming on. That ball went right over the glove of Renteria. He missed it completely. There's Cangelosi right behind him. I think he has the better shot to make the catch, but he never made the call.
No error charged, at least they haven't indicated it yet. The 2-1 pitch now floats in there, 2-2. And McGriff fouls that one out of play. Does a guy who throws so much off-speed stuff have a better chance against a free swinging team like the Braves? Is that part of the explanation?
Yes, a free swinging team will help him out by chasing a lot of the breaking balls and change-ups in the dirt.
This ball's hit back to the box. And McGriff, who got a second chance when Renteria couldn't handle his foul pop, is retired anyway. These are the starts where Saunders performed so well against the Braves, winning the first 3 and a fine effort in a no decision in August against Glavine. He was never paired against Smoltz prior to tonight. Javi Lopez cuts and misses.
You know, for all the changeups they talked about Tony Saunders featuring, he hadn't featured too many tonight. Early in the second.
Up and in. Of course, when you're effective with the change, it can take an ordinary fastball, which is what Saunders has if you're just talking about the clock, take an ordinary fastball and make it effective.
Oh, yeah, and as you look at that high inside fastball to Javi Lopez, anytime you get hitters, if you get hitters looking for changeups, I mean, something is really messed up in this game. If breaking ball, fastball is a different story, but if you have hitters looking for a fastball, you got their minds messed up, or I should say a changeup in difference to his good fastball here early.
There it is. Javi Lopez sits down. Second strikeout for Saunders, who's retired the first 5 he's faced.
Well, one thing about Saunders, he's wild enough to be effective, and I don't mean wild at the hitter's head, wild around the strike zone. Let's take a look at these pitches. Fastball, see, just up out of the strike zone. Just in the strike zone and out of the strike zone again. So only one of those pitches were strikes in that account.
Andrew Jones takes a ball. He hit .231 for the year with 18 homers. But he's really been in a tailspin the last 6 weeks or so. Swinging at a lot of pitches out of the strike zone. Lays off that one. 2 out, nobody on, no score, top of the second, and 2-0 the count to Andrew Jones. Gets the corner. Saunders is 23 years old, 6'2" and 205. Short, and Renteria's right there. Another perfect inning for Saunders. No score after 1.5. No scores. We move to the bottom of the second. Jim Leland and company with concerns this weekend, though. They know they're without Alex Fernandez with the fully torn rotator cuff, and now Kevin Brown comes down with some sort of stomach ailment and doesn't come to the ballpark tonight. Scheduled to pitch game 4 and game 7 if there is one. Bobby Bonilla. High and away, ball 2. And the fastball fouled off. Here's what the scouts say about Bobby Bo.
Bobby Bonilla likes the ball out of the plate. You can stay up and in, and he will chase a lot of pitches out of the strike zone, especially with 2 strikes. If you're John Smoltz, you look at this lineup that they're featuring tonight, and you say Sheffield, Bonilla, and Dalton. Those are the 3 players I have to be very careful with because they can all hurt me with one swing.
And he fouls the 3-1 pitch away. Might have been low for ball 4.
You get a guy up there like Bonilla, Bob, and Joe has done this many times himself. I mean, close ball games early in the game, if it's something you can hit, if it's something you can reach, you're going for it. That's why Bonilla is in there in this spot.
He got him looking. Second strikeout for Smoltz. Folks, you can go online to MLBWorldSeries.com for complete postseason coverage. Soak in the history of the game with video highlights of the greatest moments of the past and a look at the World Series matchups from 25, 50, 75 and 90 years ago. Boy, oh boy, that 1907 series between the Cubs and the Tigers. Plus, don't miss live AudioNet rebroadcasts of the post-game press conference. It's all on MLBWorldSeries.com. You know, the Cubs actually won the World Series in 07 and 08.
I want to hear the press conference from those years. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North America. 1907.
You got it. I think that predates radio, doesn't it? Dalton can't catch up with that heater.
Not in Milwaukee. Did you research all that today? Did you? Yes or no? Just yes or no?
You know,
That's all. He did. Locked in that room again.
2 balls and 2 strikes. This is important info, Uecker. It's very key.
What's that on your cup? 1903. Ah.
And Dalton fans. Up comes White, who for his career is 0 for 11 with 5 strikeouts against John Smoltz. There hasn't been a base runner yet tonight. 2 out, bottom of the 2nd. Mike Winters says yes, he committed himself. 0-1. The 10 career postseason victories for John Smoltz ties him with Dave Stewart and Whitey Ford for most ever in postseason play, but the contexts are different. 2-1. Stewart never pitched in a division series, and of course all of Whitey Ford's postseason wins are in the World Series for the Yankees. So Smoltz has been brilliant, but he's had more opportunities. Three balls and a strike. Come on back, Devon. That one's in there.
If you're facing John Smoltz and you're left-handed, this is a pitch I think you have to hit. The low fastball. And Devon White is a pretty good low ball hitter, but he takes that one.
The 3-2 pitch. A breaking ball slapped to short. Blauser. Both clubs have gone out in order through the first 2, and we'll be back in just a moment. Before the game tonight, Jim Gray talked with Alex Fernandez and asked him if in retrospect he feels there's Fernandez with Alou, if in retrospect Fernandez feels that he jeopardized his career by pitching in Game 2 of this series.
I pitched Costas before, so it might have been there for a while. It might have been there just, last couple months. I don't know. My career's not over. I could guarantee that. If anybody's done it before, and they have already, they've shown it that there's been players that have come back, pitchers that have come back. I know deep inside I could do it.
Jimmy Key was one of those people who was able to come back from a fully torn rotator cuff. However, it's been few and far between. Are you at all fearful that you may not be able to recover?
I'm looking at reality. I'm looking at saying, I know it's career ending, but how much of a career ending is it? Is there guys that come back? Just like you said, Jimmy Key has, or Hershey. There's a few guys out there that come to mind that have come back from this thing, and I feel that I could do the same. It's going to take work. It's going to take patience. It's going to take time, and I'm ready to start very soon.
And now Ryan Klesko with a little flare into center field. It's the game's first hit and first base runner. Alex Fernandez determined to come back. That's a look at his season month by month. As we mentioned, he had a weak September. You could have taken that as an indication that something was wrong, but he was close to brilliant in the division series against the Giants. before walking out to the mound with nothing on Wednesday in Game 2 here in this series against Atlanta. Here's Tony Graffinino starting at second base and hitting 8th with Klesko aboard to open the 3rd.
Bob, I tore a rotator cuff about 5 years ago, and had the surgery done. I cannot believe that he pitched through the month of September with a torn rotator cuff, and even after that game in San Francisco, or if he had it then.
Possible double play ball. Renteria to Counsell on to first, and they turn it over.
Ground ball to shortstop. Renteria gave them a good throw at second, and Counsell turns it over. Counsell's their best defensive second baseman. That's why he's in there.
Here's Smoltz, a good hitting pitcher, taking ball 1.
But after the tear, Bob, the initial tear, I mean, you know it's torn as you look at that double play ball. Renteria and Counsell and Darren Dalton on the final end. But I know what it is to sleep, to try and sleep after you've torn it. I mean, you know it's there. And to have him be able to pitch the way he did, I don't know how he did it. I mean, he said he pitched with a little pain. It had to be more than a little pain.
His teammates all say he's a real gamer.
Well, but I know that, and there are a lot of guys that are. I mean, but to go out there and pitch with that constant pain is unbelievable. It really is. I mean, you can't imagine the kind of pain there is, Bob, if you try to throw with a torn rotator cuff. I mean, it's tough. It really is. It's hard.
The 2-2 pitch from Saunders to Smoltz. Full count. Smoltz hit .228 this year. Didn't hit a home run in '97, but has 4 of them for his career. So you can't just toss it up there to him. Right down the heart of the plate, and Smoltz strikes out looking. 3 Ks for Saunders, 1 in each inning.
I'm going to show you the difference between John Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox. They pitch to the edges. Look at this. Right over the middle. A breaking ball right down the middle. And a fastball he just throws by Darren Dalton down the middle. He does not have to hit the edges to be successful.
Bad enough you're facing a guy like Smoltz, Joe, with the excellent fastball and a very good splitter. But I mean, Renteria and Bonilla on 3-2 counts, he goes to breaking balls. Big problem tonight.
Starts Charles Johnson with a fastball for a strike. Smoltz's 10-2 career postseason record breaks down 2-0 in the division series, 6-1 in the LCS, 2-1 in the World Series. Breaking ball cut on and missed. Coming off another strong outing. A complete Game 3 hitter to finish Houston off, and he struck out 11 at the Astrodome in that one. Johnson lays off. 1-2. They check with Jerry Lane. He says no. Johnson's 1 hit in this series, an RBI double off Greg Maddux in Game 1. 2-2. When you look a little deeper into Smoltz's postseason record, even his losses and no decisions are often impressive. In the air back of third, Chipper Jones into foul territory, and now it drifts beyond the tarp and out of play. You may recall that Smoltz was the starter against Jack Morris of the Twins in one of the great Game 7s in World Series history. The Twins wound up winning the game 1-0 in 10 innings. Morris got the victory. Smoltz pitched shutout ball into the 8th before being replaced. Then last year in Game 5 of the World Series in Atlanta against the Yankees, he loses 1-0 on an unearned run, gives up only 4 hits in 8 innings and strikes out 10. Fouled off. He has seldom been less than brilliant when they've handed him the ball with the most at stake.
Well, he's such a power pitcher, and he's very, very durable, Bob. I mean, he's one of those guys that'll throw. I mean, up at 130, 140, 135 pitch counts, and I mean, he'll do that time and time again. There's another breaking ball. That slider down low and away. Charles Johnson can't check his swing. That's his third strikeout tonight on a breaking ball.
4 strikeouts overall.
There's that slider down low and away, and Johnson can check his swing. Here it is one more time. It's outside. It's a bad pitch, but it breaks so sharp, and he throws it so hard. When you're throwing in the 90s with a fastball, 95, 96, 97, then you got a 90 or 91 mile an hour slider to go along with it. You got big problems as a hitter.
Up comes the rookie second baseman Craig Counsell, .299 for the season. 2 for 5 in the division series against the Giants, 2 for 4 in this series. Jones inching in onto the grass at third as Counsell fouls it back 0-2. Boy, does Smoltz look sharp.
Anything that's up in the strike zone from John Smoltz, if it's a fastball, you're going to have a problem trying to catch up with it. You have to make him get the ball down, and you have to hit the fastball.
Ahead of Counsell 0-2. Check swing foul. Smoltz won both of his starts in the NLCS last year against the Cardinals as the Braves came back from a 3-1 deficit to win. He misses low to Counsell. Craig hangs in there. When you talk about the all-time best postseason pitchers, you can't go solely on total victories because with the additional rounds there are more opportunities now. Hard to imagine anybody being as consistently great as Sandy Koufax was.
Or Bob Gibson. Gibson pitched 8 complete games and won 7 of those.
In the 64, 67, and 68 World Series. 2-2.
That's such a tough choice when somebody asks you about pitchers in big games, Joe, and you've seen many of them, and Bob, so have you. But I mean, when you talk about the guys like Koufax and Drysdale and Bob Gibson, I mean, if there's a better guy than Bob Gibson, and I mean, having had a chance to catch him and work with him, I mean, he's unbelievable.
Fastball cut on and missed, and he chased one high and away. 5 strikeouts through the first 8 hitters faced by Smoltz. Both leagues in action tomorrow. Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Bob Brenly back to work in Cleveland. Indians got out of Baltimore with a split. And we come out here at 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow for our game 4. Tony Saunders isn't much of a hitter. He batted .081, just 3 hits for the season. But one of them was a home run off the Braves' Tom Glavine. Big day for him. First big league win and a home run. To finish up on Bob Gibson, he lost his first and last World Series starts out of 9 and won 7 in a row in between. A called third strike. Smoltz strikes out the side, and he fans 6 through the first 3.
Well, John Smoltz is really on his game. He struck out 3 hitters in the 3rd inning. Watch this. Charles Johnson chases the slider. Fastball up to Counsell, and a breaking ball over the outside corner to Saunders. Now let's take a look at this from supervision. There's the 86-mile-an-hour breaking ball to Johnson he chased. Fastball up to Counsell, and a breaking ball of 83 miles an hour over the outside corner to Saunders.
Supervision, as we've explained earlier in this postseason, is a computer tracking of the actual pitch. Johnson and Counsell went after pitches out of the strike zone, and then Mike Winters might have expanded the strike zone for Smoltz a little bit on strike 3 to the already overmatched Tony Saunders.
Well, you're right. The thing to remember is this ball, the supervision tracks the ball from the time it releases the pitcher's hand, the movement, the break, and the speed.
Here's Lofton. Joe, what would you try to do when you were in the throes of a slump, like Lofton is?
Well, I think he tried that the second game. He dropped down a bunt.
Right.
When you have the speed of a Lofton, you try to bunt the ball, but then more than anything else, you try to make sure you stay on top of the ball. So if you hit a chopper, you can beat it out for a base hit. But you have to try to stay back through the middle. You go back to fundamentals. Try to hit everything back through the middle, which will keep you on the ball a little longer.
He grounded to short his first time up.
What if you're a right-handed batter like I was?
Uecker, I don't think the difference here is so much left to right.
I'm asking, okay? I mean, my slumps would always end in September, and then they were back again in March.
Heck of a thing to get hot around September 28th, isn't it, Uecker?
There you go. Hey, the base hit a month. It's always something to go in and talk to your GM about.
Saunders has allowed just one hit through 3, and now it's 2 as Lofton reaches for it and sends a little punch shot into left. Next Friday, hold on, folks, for players. Ice-T stars in this action series.
We're not cops, not robbers. We're the good guys. Okay.
Players premieres next Friday on NBC. You're resting easier when guys like that are running the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
We know our money's safe, huh?
The Braves hardly ever tried to run against Charles Johnson this year, and that's wise. They tried 6 steals against Johnson and were thrown out 5 times. Kenny Lofton was cut down 4 times by Johnson. Blauser squares to bunt and takes high.
Well, it's easier to steal a base against a left-handed pitcher if you're a good base stealer. You can get a better jump and a quicker jump. You can get farther down the line and have a better shot at beating Charles Johnson's throw against the left-hander because you have more time to read him and more time to run.
Yeah, a lot of first basemen, as Darren Dalton is doing tonight, playing way off the bag, and it gives that runner a little bit more of a problem. I mean, he's beyond maybe a step, talking about Lofton, beyond where Dalton is.
Blauser pulls back, and it's 2-0.
You'll say the one thing with a left-hander, for the first baseman, he's got a chance to play, as I said, like Dalton is. Watch Lofton. As Saunders goes to his stretch, he freezes Lofton there for a second, but it also enables Dalton to get a little quicker break coming toward the plate in a bunt attempt. Lofton's going to run no matter who's out there. I mean, he's got to find his rhythm, and he's going to go.
Blauser swinging and fouls it to the seats.
From a base stealer's point of view, you get your normal lead. Forget about where the first baseman is playing. You get your normal lead, read the pitcher, and go. Or you get your normal lead, read the pitcher, and come back to first base. You eliminate where the defensive player is because that has no bearing on what you're doing.
Running against Charles Johnson is one thing. That's a problem for anybody. It would be a problem for Ty Cobb, whomever you want to pick, Lou Brock. But what accounts for this? Lofton, who never stole fewer than 54 in the previous 5 seasons, stole just half his previous lowest total this year, 27, and he was caught 20 times.
One of the things they do better in the National League is they try to protect against the running game. They will pitch out more. Pitchers give it more effort to hold them on. The American League, the smaller ballparks, you play pitching, defense, and the 3-run homer. They manufacture runs in the National League, so you have to hold the runners better.
Blauser punts foul as they put the bunt back on with 1 strike.
So I really believe that it's taken him time to adjust back to the National League and the fact that they are going to pay more attention to him at first base. You can't just do it with pure speed. You have to be able to read the pitchers and get a good jump.
Now let's see what Bobby Cox has in mind on the 2-2. Blauser takes a ball, and the count is full.
Nice block by Charles Johnson on that breaking ball from Tony Saunders. It's a breaking ball in the dirt. And watch Charles Johnson. Down to his knees, gets his body in front of the glove down in the groin area to keep that ball from skipping through there, and he knocked it down with a chest protector.
Well, you have to be going here. If you're Kenny Lofton at first base, you have to be going.
He does take off. It's ball 4 to Blauser. And so the play at second base doesn't matter. Blauser on his way to first with the walk.
There's going to be an argument here. Jim Leland, here's that play one more time. This is a pitch right around the outside corner. Johnson thought it was a strike. It's a perfect throw to second base. You'll see the sliding Kenny Lofton. Now, here's what happens. The tag on Lofton. Lofton thought he was out. He left the bag. He left the bag and started walking toward the Braves dugout. That's when he was tagged by Renteria, and Jim Leland is out there now arguing with Eric Gregg about the call. He said he walked off the bag. Watch Lofton. If we can hang on to this thing, Lofton thinks he's out. He thinks he's out. A great throw. There's Kenny Lofton. He's contending he called time, but he didn't call time. He's arguing the call. There's the tag by counsel. Not Renteria, by counsel. There's the tag initially. He thinks he's out.
Yeah, but the problem is the umpire did call him out. So he is out. So you can't tag him if he's already out.
But it was ball 4.
Well, you have to move him back. You have to put him back to first base because he was called out. I mean, you have to give him second base. He was called out. Now you see Greg pointing, go back. But there is a problem here because he did come around the bag.
There was no time called, and he came off the bag.
But Eric Gregg did call him out. So he does have to. If you called out, if you're called out, you have to go to the dugout. So technically, he was going toward the dugout, he can say, and he was following the orders of Eric Gregg. So if Eric Gregg called him out, he's out. Now if they change it, then he has to go back.
Ball 4 kills the play, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All 3 veteran umpires here. Now Leland's getting a little more worked up. Frank Pulley, Bruce Fremming, Eric Gregg. But obviously what they're explaining to him is this. The call is made by the second base umpire, not realizing that it was ball 4.
That's not his job, right?
And so he punches him out, and Lofton, acting upon that, walks away and is tagged out. But the play is dead because ball 4 was called a blouser, so Lofton had second base, and it's going to be first and second when Leland eventually has his say.
Well, there's the call by Eric Gregg initially. And again, it was kind of a delayed call on Lofton. Lofton had already hit the bag and almost slid past the bag. And that's when Eric Gregg pulled back on him. When he wandered off the bag thinking that he was indeed out, that's when he was tagged by counsel. And Eric Gregg says, hey, nothing doing. Lofton stays at second, and Blauser's going to be at first. The base on balls kill the play. But again, the argument, Joe, that you could have, I mean, if runners are going on a 3-2 count and it's a ball 4, and the guy going to third, say there are 2 guys on, the guy going to third wanders off the bag, runs around the bag at third, somebody throws over there, he's got to be out.
Well, before we go any further, they're going to play this game under protest. That's what Jim Leland's going to do right here. Jim Leland is contending that he's not arguing, it's not a decision, that they made a bad ruling. You can't protest a decision, you have to protest a ruling. And that's Bruce Fremming. He's going over to talk about whether they violated the rule or not. That's Len Coleman, the National League president there, but that's really not his job. I mean, Jim Leland has a right to protest, and that's what he's doing.
Let me read to you from the rule book. Runner on first, 3 balls on batter. Runner steals on the next pitch, which is 4th ball, but after having touched second, he overslides or overruns that base. Catcher's throw catches him before he can return. Ruling is that runner is out, force out is removed, but he didn't actually overrun or overslide the base. He walked away after he thought that Eric Gregg had called him out. So it's possible to interpret even this, which seems fairly clear, it's possible to interpret that play differently than you would an overslide or an overrun.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, there really shouldn't be an argument here. The umpire called him out because he thought the play was live. It wasn't live. The ball's dead. So the play is, that's ball 4. So now, when he calls him out, he comes off the bag. Now watch, Lofton is on the bag right there. He's laying on the bag right there. He's on the bag. He's called out before he comes off the bag. That means that Eric Gregg made a mistake because he didn't know it was ball 4. And I won't even say Eric Gregg made a mistake because his job is to look and make the call at second base. So the point is, the runner's entitled to go back to second base.
As the play developed, was there poor communication among the umpires? Should Mike Winters have thrown his hands up? Should there have been a more demonstrative indication to indicate, if possible, to everyone on the field that the play was dead?
Well, I think Charles Johnson argued that point already because Charles thought it was strikes 3.
So the rule is explicit on ball 4 if there's an overrun or an overslide by the stealing runner. But this is a different deal. He wandered off the base or walked off the base thinking he had already been called out.
Well, he was called out.
Here's Chipper Jones.
Because the ball is never dead. That's the whole point. The ball is not dead actually on ball 4. Because if that's ball 4, they can pick a guy off if he was at third base. You see, so the ball is not dead.
Or for that matter, if he caught them sleeping, he could keep going to third base himself.
Right, so the ball is not dead. The point is, the ball, after he calls him out and he wanders off, now the ball becomes dead.
Be interesting to talk to Charles Johnson, too, to find out if indeed Mike Winters gave him the strike call verbally, Joe, right away. I'm talking about strike and him throwing anyway, thinking the pitch was on the outside corner and going to be called a strike. Winters didn't call it a strike, and Johnson throws through anyway. Catchers get in that habit sometimes. You think a pitch is a good pitch with somebody running, you come out throwing. You've seen it happen many times.
Jones squaring to bunt, pulling back, taking a strike after the Marlin infield met to decide how they defense the bunt, and Lofton took that opportunity to walk over to his third base coach, Bobby Dews, to get his instructions.
Well, this makes a lot of sense here. They've had trouble with Saunders. They're in a situation. Chipper's not as good a hitter from the right side as he is the left side, so you let them think that you're going to bunt. Maybe you'll get a better pitch to hit in this situation.
He squares again, gets the bunt down. It's a good one. Bonilla bare hands and throws with Counsell covering. He drops the ball. Everybody's safe, and the bases are loaded. What a test this is for a rookie pitcher like Tony Saunders. A soft single to left by Lofton. He walks Blauser on a close 3-2 pitch. Then after the argument avails nothing, and the Braves are still left with runners at first and second. An error on the attempted out at first base off the sacrifice bunt.
First baseman. Well, again, it's a good sacrifice by Chipper Jones and a good play by Bobby Bonilla. He backed up momentarily thinking Saunders was going to make the play. There's the barehanded pickup, and the throw is a good one. Easy play for Counsell to handle. He bobbles it, and Jones reaches on the air. It's a sacrifice and an error, and the bases are now loaded. To clear up what I was saying just a moment ago, Bob, on the play with the catcher, if that umpire, if it is a strike, he really does give you the verbal call immediately. If it's not, and as I said, catchers get into that habit. If you know, you're back there and you think a pitch is a strike, and you're going to come out throwing. And it happens that way, and that's what happened here with Johnson, where he anticipated and thought the pitch was a strike. It was called a ball, and that being the reason for the mix-up.
So McGriff with the bases loaded and nobody out on the fourth. He bounced to the box his first time up. On the outside corner for strike one. Jim Gray is with National League President Leonard Coleman. Jim?
All right, thank you, Bob. Len, can you tell us exactly what happened, and is this game being played under protest by the Marlins?
Yes, Jim. The game is being played under protest by the Marlins. The umpire incorrectly called the runner out on ball 4, and then when called timeout himself to protect the runner after he had strayed. So he had called time and therefore declared the runner safe at second.
Obviously, now with Lofton scoring on the sacrifice by McGriff, a run comes in, so this could be a very, very pivotal call here. What's your interpretation?
Oh, I'll hear the protest and hear both sides of the protest and have to make a judgment, Jim.
Clearly now Eric Gregg did call him out, and then he reversed his call. That's allowable. That's absolutely permissible.
Well, what happened was that, as I say, Eric had called him out, and incorrectly because it was ball 4, and then Eric called time himself to protect the runner after calling him out.
Okay, Len, we appreciate your time.
Good, my pleasure.
Bob, back to you.
With a run home now on the sacrifice fly by McGriff, Javi Lopez stands in and takes a ball.
All right, there's another key element in what they just said. What Len Coleman basically said is that home plate umpire Winters called timeout after that to protect McGriff before the tag was applied. So, you know, again, that just solves all the problem right there. Protest denied.
There is no way that protest has a sliver of a chance in a postseason game when the mistake, although it did cause confusion, did not involve unfairness.
And that's the umpire's job.
The fair thing to do, since the umpires may have misled Lofton in that situation, was to put him back on second base. It's a fair ruling.
Right.
We understand Leland's argument, but the ruling makes sense, and there's no way you're going to replay an LCS game based on that. Right field. Sheffield in and toward the line. Blauser to second to tag. He'll draw a throw, but he's going nowhere.
It makes it such a tough call for the umpire at second base. I mean, he's watching the runner come in there and the tag and the slide and everything else, and he did make a good call on Lofton. The initial call was right, and then when Kenny wandered off the bag, bang, all the confusion starts. And as you said, Bob, I can understand Jim Leland. I mean, along with all the other things that have gone on with Leland's club here in the last couple of days, he doesn't need anything like this.
Andrew Jones lined to short his first time up. Lofton single, Blauser walked. Jones reached on Council's error, covering first on his sacrifice attempt. McGriff drove home a run with a fly to left. Lopez flies out to right. 2 on, 2 out. And 2-0 the count to Jones. Jones, as you may know, is from Curacao in the Southwest Caribbean, near Venezuela. And after his heroics in last year's World Series, 2 home runs in Game 1 against the Yankees, they reported tourism in Curacao was up about 10%. In there.
And you see exactly how they're going to pitch Jones. They're not going to throw him a fastball when he's looking for one. They've thrown him change-ups and breaking balls, all 3 pitches here. So when they think he's looking fastball, they're going to throw breaking balls.
High and away, 3-1. Apparently, Curacao is fertile territory for the Braves. They have another prospect, a left-handed hitting and throwing first baseman named Randall Simon, who is from Curacao. Might be the heir apparent to Fred McGriff. Fastball on the corner, right where Johnson set up. The rookie trying to work himself out of a very difficult fourth with minimal damage. Blauser and Jones take off, and the bases will be loaded again. Second walk of the inning. Both on 3-2 counts.
But he's having trouble controlling his changeup. He threw a changeup to Blauser, which turned out to be ball 4. He threw a 3-2 changeup there to Andrew Jones, so that's the pitch that is deserting him today. He is struggling with his changeup. He's not able to get it in the strike zone or close enough that they commit right away.
That was the one pitch that everybody talked about, even Bobby Cox. When we asked Bobby Cox about this guy's best pitch, he said changeup, and hasn't been good for him yet tonight.
And a ball to Klesko, who often was benched against left-handers this year. In fact, played in only one of Saunders' 4 starts against the Braves. Struck out both times he faced him in that game. Singled his first time up tonight. And lofts one on the infield. It's a tough chance, the wind taking it. Council and Dalton both after it, and Dalton finally takes it near the mound. They leave the bases loaded, and they score 1 in a wild 4th. Cangelosi starts it against Smoltz in the Florida 4th. Ball 1 to him. Smoltz has been perfect through 3, striking out 6 of the 9 he's faced. Cangelosi and Smoltz have something of a history. Back in 1994, when Smoltz was with the Mets, Ryan Thompson hit a grand slam. Rather, when Cangelosi was with the Mets, Ryan Thompson hit a grand slam off Smoltz. Cangelosi was the next hitter. Smoltz drilled him, and little Cangelosi charged the mound. Now Cangelosi says, hey, no hard feelings. He did what he had to do. I felt I had to respond. 3-1 to Cangelosi, who's always drawn a lot of walks because of his compact strike zone. Full count.
Well, this is the second time through the order they've seen John Smoltz. They've been able to gauge how much his fastball is moving, how much his slider is breaking. And this, to me, is the key at bats for everyone through the order. We'll see if they're going to be able to make any adjustments to Smoltz or if he's going to continue to dominate.
He hasn't used his splitter that much tonight. Normally not here on a 3-2 count with John Cangelosi, the leadoff man, but his splitter, the 2 or 3 times that he has thrown it, picked up a strikeout one time. Other than that, he hasn't really used it that much.
Look out. And it holds at 3-2. The bat took off in the other direction.
That looked like it was heading toward the seats. There's that swing, the foul tip. There it goes towards the seats, and the Marlins dugout coming up short.
And Cangelosi in a good at-bat, fouling a few off, eventually draws a walk to become the first base runner against Smoltz. This is Saunders when the Braves' fourth was finally history. All things considered, he didn't do that badly.
No, he ought to be happy getting out of that inning. He had the bases loaded, nobody out. He pitched his way out of it, allowing only 1 run. And again, with a call that was messed up and caused some problems. The game's being played under protest. He did all right.
But after seeing the way Smoltz went through his hitters the first 3 innings, that's why he's upset he gave up 1 run.
Renteria in a sacrifice situation, bunts it foul. Again, the interpretation that you're likely to read about in the papers tomorrow is simply this. Had Lofton, even on ball 4, overrun or overslid the bag and been tagged out, he's going to be out. But in this case, walking off the bag and being tagged, he was a victim of Eric Gregg's mistake. Gregg should not have called him out because the play, in effect, had stalled with the ball 4 to Jeff Blauser. So he should have let him remain at second base, and Gregg is allowed to rectify his own mistake.
That's the way it will read tomorrow morning, and that's the way you explained it earlier. Absolutely.
Renteria had 19 sacrifices this year, by far the most on the team. He pops this one up, but no one can reach it. It's difficult to bunt a guy who throws as hard as Smoltz.
Well, if you get yourself squared around in time, I think that's the one thing that a lot of hitters don't do in trying to sacrifice, is to really give themselves up. That trying to do a bunt like you would for a base hit bunt attempt and try to drop it while you're moving really doesn't get the job done. If everybody in the ballpark knows you're going to bunt, you might as well square around and lay it down.
Not bunting on 0-2 and taking it down and away. Rich Donnelly is the Marlin coach at third. Tommy Sant at first. They were with Leland and Pittsburgh through all the years. Angelosi, who runs pretty well, leads away.
A little slider that time by John Smoltz, and the one thing Renteria did, he cut down on his stroke a little bit. Instead of really taking a big hack at that ball, a slider out away, he tried to take a swack at it and hit it to right.
Another 1-2 pitch. There goes the bat, and he got a small piece of the ball, sending it back to the screen. One more look at the disputed play on ball 4 to Blauser.
Okay, watch the home plate umpire. The throw goes down to second base. Now watch what he does. He will get up and he will raise his hand and call timeout and give you a ball 4 signal. So now he sees that they're safe. Now he sees Lofton start to walk off. This is the play at second. When he saw Lofton start to walk off, he called timeout. And that solves all the problems.
And it's still 1-2 to Renteria.
Well, he's gone away on Renteria the last couple of times. Now might be a nice time. A ball and 2 strikes to come inside with that good fastball or even with a splitter. But his fastball in the high 90s now, middle 90s to high 90s. Not a bad time to come inside on Renteria. He's tried to punch a couple balls to right field.
Sheffield waiting on deck. 2-2. Threw him the splitter that time, but he wouldn't bite.
Here it is again, that splitter by Schmaltz, looked like a splitter. Down in the dirt, and Renteria checked his swing. Well, it's nasty enough, Joe, the splitter anyway. You got the guys that throw in the high 80s or low 90s. It's really nasty, really bites.
There goes Cangelosi, and the 2-2 pitch is lined softly to right, but coming on to make the catch is Andrew Jones, and this will turn into a very easy double play.
Well, it's poor base running there because, first of all, it's not a straight steal. It's a hit and run. So about 3/4 down, when the ball reaches the plate, you're supposed to look at home plate and see what happens. If it's a straight steal, you do not have to take a look. But this is definitely a hit and run, but he never looked. And Cangelosi rounds second base. He raises his hands looking at the third base coach to tell him where it is, but by then it's too late. You have to take a look. Now watch him. He never takes a look. And watch you around third base. He's asking him where it is. You look for yourself and you'll know where it is. I mean, you're not stealing the base. It's a hit and run.
Now Sheffield with 2 out and nobody on. Hits one to deep left. Back at the fence is Klesko, and it is over the scoreboard for a home run. The question when that ball left the bat was whether it had the height, not the distance, to clear the high scoreboard in left field. It does to tie the game at 1.
There are only 3 guys in this lineup that can hurt Smoke: Sheffield, Bonilla, and Dalton. And he was very careful with Sheffield the first at bat, as he was with Dalton and Bonilla. But this time he makes a mistake.
The 1-0 to Bonilla, who struck out his first time. Hit to short. Blauser has it. The Marlins are finished in the 4th, but not before Sheffield gets them even. On to the 5th at Pro Player Stadium. Braves got a run on the top half of the 4th. Marlins get it right back on the Sheffield home run in their half. Saunders to Graffinino. Ball 1. And that one's in there. In the absence of Mark Lemke, often a postseason hero for Bobby Cox, the Braves have gotten excellent play at second base from Keith Lockhart and Graffinino. One and 2.
There's a changeup for a strike. He has not thrown many tonight that were strikes.
In the air to shallow center. Counsell going out. White coming in. White, the center fielder, calls and tucks it away.
Let's take a look at this. See how close Gary Sheffield stands to the plate? That allows him to handle balls out here. And they have pitched him away the entire series, so what does he do? He goes out and gets it. And he's strong enough and has such a quick bat that he can drive the ball out of any part of the ballpark. He knows he got it. I mean, he's in his trot already. And we're tied. And you get a look at the Marlins bench. They knew as soon as he hit it that it should be out of here, and they're very excited.
Smoltz struck out his first time. A ball and a strike to him. Series tied at 1. Game 3 tied at 1.
Joe, when you illustrated that last shot by Sheffield and the area where Smoltz threw the ball back in the opening inning. He got him with a good fastball. Remember the fastball he threw to Sheffield inside and jammed him? Hit it back to the mound, hit a little comebacker. You're right. He gets extension. He's got great power.
Fouled off, and it's still 2-2. Remember, in game 2, Javi Lopez hit a ball into right field down the line in foul territory, and Sheffield seemed to pull up a little bit on a ball he might have had a play on. He was tentative on it. It makes you wonder whether he's still nursing the sore hamstring, whether he's still fearful of re-injuring it. Hasn't hurt his swing in September and in the postseason. Staying alive on the foul tip is Smoltz. Sheffield had a disappointing regular season by his standards, hitting only .250 with 21 homers and 71 RBIs. But he hit well over 300 in September. And he's been hot against the Giants and now the Braves. Trying to get somebody's attention out there.
Gary Sheffield, I think what Gary Sheffield is talking about is if there's a line drive hit to right field, he's coming to first base. I think that's what he's saying. If this ball is hit hard, I'm coming back at you, to Darren Daulton.
And Daulton looked back over his shoulder and nodded in acknowledgement. After all, you've got a pitcher at the plate hitting from the right side. Sheffield has a terrific arm. If he catches a one-hop base hit, he could peg it over there. It's not unheard of. A little squibber toward Daulton, and he retires Smoltz. Let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, Bob. Well, just before the home run by Sheffield, Jim Leland, the manager, got up off of his chair and he went over to John Cangelosi in a very animated state, letting him know under no uncertain terms that he was very unhappy with the base running, pointed out to right field where Andrew Jones was and said, "You must watch the ball. Don't look over at the coaching staff or of any of us. You've got to be the guy who's paying attention." Bob?
Anytime you have a hit and run, it's the runner's responsibility to know where the ball is. A straight steal, as I said, you run with your head down and you try to steal the base, but that was definitely a hit and run.
Lofton drops a bunt. Bonilla was expecting it, and Bobby Bowe guns it to Daulton to retire Lofton. Atlanta goes out in order in the 5th. Bobby Cox with his pitching coach Leo Mazzoni on his left. Darren Daulton starts it off. This is his first postseason start. An important member of the 1993 Phillies, who won the National League pennant before losing the World Series to the Blue Jays. And in the process, they upset Atlanta in the LCS. 1-1.
Last fastball by John Smoltz, still at 95 miles an hour. He started Daulton off with an 82-mile-an-hour slider and then right back with a fastball.
That one's low. Daulton hit .263 combined between the Phillies and the Marlins with 14 home runs. Rolled down to first. McGriff will take it himself. As Devon White walks from the on-deck circle to the batter's box, let's check the scouting report on him.
Number 22.
Well, Devon White, every once in a while with a little bit of power. Take it deep once in a while. I mean, if you make a mistake on this guy inside, he'll hurt you to right field. Throwing fastballs away, mixing a lot of off-speed pitches. Don't make a mistake on him inside. They play him to hit towards left field.
He grounded to short his first time.
When I travel around, I'm often asked how good a manager is Bobby Cox. And my answer comes out like, he reminds me of Sparky Anderson. I don't think he'll ever get the credit that he deserves for his skills. Because he's able to throw the best pitchers in baseball out there and just write out the lineup, everyone thinks that's all he has to do. Because his team usually matches up, he can just throw those guys out and win. He doesn't have to do a lot of trick plays or anything that makes you seem like he's a smart manager. But I think he's a very good manager in that he's able to get all 25 guys pointed in the same direction, and that's winning. And that's what Sparky Anderson was good at. But I don't think he'll ever get the credit that he deserves because he's actually a pretty good manager.
I bet you there'll be a lot more good managers with a pitching staff like his.
Well, that's true. I think that's why he gets the underrated tag.
Down the left field line, Klesko in pursuit, into the corner, and runs out of room.
Anytime they figure you can write in a set lineup or set starting pitchers, they figure you really do not have much else to do, but you really do. Because, you know, keeping the psyche of this team together is important, and making them understand that the only thing that is important is winning.
You played with Sparky. That's all he used to talk about, Joe. He said, I don't do anything. He said, I just put the lineup up there.
No, but that's not true.
Another 1-2 pitch. A breaking ball, grounded foul.
The only difference is Sparky did win 3 world championships, whereas Bobby Cox has only won 1. But Bobby Cox has been in postseason play here for 6 straight years with the Braves, and he does have 1 world championship.
In that 92 World Series, White was a member of the Toronto Blue Jays against the Atlanta Braves. 2-2. Smoltz has allowed only 1 hit, but it was a Sheffield home run with 2 out on the 4th.
Yes, the question is, Bob, is if you have poor teams and you do trick plays, you hit and run, you do a lot of things, and your team overachieves, that makes you a good manager. But if you have the horses and you win with those horses, people seem to think that you're not a good manager.
Another foul ball. And of course, it's a difficult situation when success is defined only as a world championship, where the division, the pennant, anything short of the world championship is defined by some as a disappointment. So much more of a crapshoot now in postseason, as Cox himself has put it, with the additional rounds and all the things that can happen along the way. Full count to Devon White.
In the first inning, he threw a lot of 3-2 breaking balls. Bob, this time around, I think he's going to be going with his fastball.
And White is able to hang in.
Well, he got Renteria back in the opening inning on a 3-2 breaking ball, struck out Bonilla to open up the second on a 3-2 breaking ball.
White's been around a long time. Angels, Blue Jays. Postseason action with those teams, and now with Florida. Oh, that didn't miss by much. Smoltz thought he had his 7th strikeout. Instead, it's his 2nd walk. This series continues tomorrow night here in Florida, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Game 4. Scheduled starters, Denny Nagel and Kevin Brown. But Kevin Brown, the Marlin ace, is at home tonight, not at the ballpark, suffering with a stomach ailment, and Jim Leland hopes he'll be able to take the ball tomorrow night for Game 4. After the walk to White, a swing and a miss by Charles Johnson. The plan, if Brown is up to it, by Leland is reminiscent of the old-time situation where you pitch a Koufax 1-4-7 or a Whitey Ford 1-4-7 or Bob Gibson. 3 out of 7 games in the World Series.
A lot will depend on the outcome of tonight's ball game. If Leland wins tonight's ball game, he may rethink his decision to start Kevin Brown tomorrow and may want to give him an extra day's rest.
Javi Lopez was thinking about a throw in behind the runner, but then he lost the handle.
And Devon White with a bluff move towards second. Lopez was coming out firing, and Devon White pulled up. He wished he would have kept on going. Watch White, about a 4-step run towards second, and then pulls up, expecting the throw from Lopez, but he dropped the ball.
It takes 3 pitches for Smoltz to dispose of Johnson. Strikeout number 7.
There's that last sequence on Charles Johnson. Breaking ball down, fastball outside corner. Breaking ball down, see you later.
So with White at first and 2 out now, It's Craig Counsell who struck out in the third. If Kevin Brown can't go tomorrow night, or if he's willing, but after winning tonight, if that's the case, and if Leland decides he wants to give him an extra day's rest, then Al Leiter will be moved up. Leiter right now is scheduled to be the Game 5 starter. Leiter pitched 2 1/3 innings out of the bullpen in Game 2 of this series. Strike 1 to Counsell. There's Al Leiter. Sheffield, who homered in this game, in front of him. Alex Fernandez, as you probably know, out for the postseason, and who knows about the rest of his career with a fully torn right rotator cuff. 0-2 to Counsell.
Craig Counsell, in his at-bats tonight against Smoltz, has really been, Smoltz been throwing that fastball up around the letters, and Counsell's going after it. As Joe, you talked earlier about if you're going to get on top of that thing, you better get an early start when he's throwing at 95, 94, 95 miles an hour. And Counsell's not that kind of a hitter to get up on top of that thing and really do any damage with it. Not that high.
Saunders, the pitcher, on deck. So Smoltz would like to finish Counsell off and then look at an easy start to the 6th with Saunders leading off. And he fights it off.
Well, let's take a look at this fastball from Smoltz. Up and away. Counsell fights it off. Let's take a look on supervision. You see it's up and moving away, and it's right on the outside corner.
And Counsell steps out. Now, with all this maneuvering, or possible maneuvering, that we're talking about, if Leiter pitches Game 4 and Brown has moved back to Game 5, the rookie Livan Hernandez scheduled for Game 6, I guess that would mean that tonight's starter, Tony Saunders, would come back in a Game 7 if there is one. Either that or Brown on 2 days rest, which is not unheard of, but is much less likely in the 90s than it used to be. Now it's something for guys to pitch on 3 days rest. You used to see a Koufax or a Lolich or a Gibson go on 2 days rest in a really important game. A true rarity now. Fouls it back. White was running on the 1-2 pitch.
Again, a breaking ball that time from Smoltz, a slider. Again, about belt high or above the belt on Counsell. And Smoltz, a little upset at himself that he threw that pitch. Yep. He got away with one that time on Counsell. Smoltz pitch count here in the inning. There you see it. 22.
White not going this time, down and in, 2-2.
Smoltz doesn't seem to be losing any velocity here yet, but his control seems to be a little off. High sliders on Counsell. This one in the dirt. Nice block by Javi Lopez here. That's a splitter. And a nice block by Lopez to save a wild pitch.
Fastball up again.
White bluffs the go, and Counsell lines it into center field for a base hit. White around second, and the ball is kicked by Kenny Lofton, and both runners will move up.
This is supposed to be a fastball up. He didn't get it up high enough. Counsell lines it into left center field. Now, Devon White was going to stop because with 2 outs, you do not take the chance of trying to go to third and get thrown out. After Lofton boots it, both partly because of that outfield grass being all chewed up, balls bouncing erratically out there.
The totals are now identical. A run, 2 hits, and an error for each team. Saunders with a chance to help himself. Despite the fact that he hit a home run earlier this year against the Braves, his batting average and his first at-bat tonight tell us he isn't much of a hitter. 081 during the regular season. One and one. Two balls and a strike.
Well, Smoltz throwing fastballs here to Tony Saunders. It's batting practice time, Joe. I don't think he's going to go with a breaking ball here. But, I mean, how many times you see these guys, pitchers, just sit on a fastball? A guy like Saunders up there left-handed, sit on a fastball and go for it. I mean, you have a rip. They shade him again around towards left. They don't feel he's going to pull Smoltz by any means. But, I mean, he's looking fastball here and go to rip it.
But he can't catch up with it. 2-2.
I think you say to yourself, you're sitting on a fastball, and here you see Saunders. This is a high fastball. This is a bad pitch from Smoltz. Good pitch for Smoltz. Bad pitch for Saunders. High and outside, he chased it.
Trying to finish him off, and he does. His 8th strikeout through 5 innings. The Marlins strand a couple. It's still 1-1. Jones and McGriff against Saunders in the Atlanta 6th. Lauser is struck out and walked. And he whacks it to left on the first pitch for a leadoff single. That'll bring up Chipper Jones, who sent a long drive to right, which was tracked down by Devon White in the first, and then reached base on an error when he attempted to sacrifice in the 4th.
You got to stay in tight on it if you're going to throw him fastballs and sliders, and then you try to sink the ball away. He doesn't have as much power from the right side as he does from the left.
Just one of his 21 1997 home runs was hit right-handed. He has 3 in the postseason, all from the left side. Saunders works to him, and ball 1. Between games 1 and 2, Jones exchanged the goat horns for the hero's laurels. He misplayed the ball down the third base line, hit by Moises Alou in the first inning off Greg Maddux. With the bases loaded, it produced 3 runs. And even though he hit a home run in the game, Jones felt that he had contributed to the defeat by not helping Maddux out in the field. But then in the next game, 3 hits and 3 RBIs. One of the 3 hits, another homer. And he played well in the field in game 2 as well. Lauser at first. And a ball high to Chipper Jones. 3-0. Now Livan Hernandez, the right-hander who's scheduled to be the game 6 starter, begins to throw along with the lefty Felix Heredia. Jim Leland did tell Jim Gray before the game, this is Larry Rothschild, the Marlin pitching coach, that he would use Livan Hernandez at least for a short stint out of the bullpen if he needed him tonight. Rookie from Cuba. When he first arrived in the United States, he put on 25 or 30 pounds in the space of a couple of months. They say going to McDonald's almost every day and night for lunch and dinner, chowing down on the Big Macs. Look at the number 32 on his hat. That's obviously in tribute to his teammate Alex Fernandez.
Now we showed Moises Alou earlier tonight prior to the game as Chipper Jones takes a fastball outside, and Moises Alou talking with Hernandez, or Fernandez I should say, and and really explaining, I'm sure, the feelings of the whole ball club. Jim Leland, we talked to him earlier tonight, Bob. He said really a tough thing. He's very upset about it, even today.
So Saunders finds himself in trouble here in the 6th. Blauser led off with a single. Jones walks on 4 pitches, and now it's McGriff who produced the Atlanta run with a sacrifice fly to left in the 4th. Foul ball, strike 1. McGriff had 97 RBIs this year, while hitting .277 overall with 22 home runs. It's the 7th consecutive year that he topped 90 RBIs, or express it a different way, 10 straight with at least 80. The 0-1 pitch hit hard and through the hole for a base hit. Blauser may be stopped at 3rd, and he will be. Sheffield with a great arm in right field. Now they've got Chipper Jones hung up between 2nd and 3rd, and they're going to tag him out. And it must be said that for 2 teams who qualified for the postseason, we've seen some very questionable base running in this series, Joe.
You're right. I mean, just mistake after mistake. You can't run a runner off the bag. This is a base hit. Now, Chipper Jones has to make sure that Blauser's going to score. He can't assume he's going to score. You have to make sure. Dalton cuts it off. Now they do the proper thing. You run him toward 3rd base. So if they both end up there, you just tag him out. Good job from Sheffield of hitting the cutoff man. If he would have overthrown the cutoff man, this would not have been possible. Jones would have been able to get back. So good play from Sheffield as well as Dalton.
You see Jones when he went around the bag, though, Joe, he was looking at the right fielder. He took no look at 3rd base whatsoever, none at all. He was watching Sheffield in right. When he turned around, there's Blauser still at 3rd.
Leland's going to the mound, and the skies open up again. You know, with nobody out, and considering Sheffield's arm and as sharply as that ball was hit, Chipper Jones should have anticipated that it was very possible Blauser would have been stopped at 3rd, as he was. Saunders is finished. He heads for the showers as the showers fall here. As Levon Hernandez comes in from the bullpen, the PA system blares Elton John's Levon. Perhaps they don't know that Elton John lives at least part of the time in Atlanta and is a huge Braves fan. Here is the 22-year-old Cuban who was 9-3 this year, started 9-0. The last pitcher to begin his career by winning his first 9 decisions was Whitey Ford back in 1950. With the 32 on his cap, in honor of his injured teammate Alex Fernandez, and through the raindrops, he faces Javi Lopez, who swings and misses.
Javi Lopez should be a 300 hitter. He has 300 hitter ability, but he chases too many pitches out of the zone. You see, he pulls the ball most of the time. But his real problem is he doesn't have patience at the plate, and we just saw an example of that. He swings at a lot of bad pitches.
Blauser at 3rd, McGriff at 1st. In the air to right, Sheffield goes back. Sheffield to the edge of the track and now almost to the wall to make the catch. Blauser tags, and it's 2-1 Atlanta on the sacrifice fly from Javi Lopez.
There's a breaking ball around the outside corner, and Lopez stayed right on it. And he hit it to the warning track and right. Good pitch by Hernandez, but he stayed right with it.
Now, he's a good hitter. His problem, he chases a lot of pitches out of the strike zone. The reason he doesn't hit 300 consistently. Breaking ball away, as you said, he goes right with it and does enough with it to get Blauser home from 3rd base. The Braves take a 2-1 lead.
Both runs for Atlanta on sac flies. That leaves McGriff at 1st with 2 out. And the hitter is Andrew Jones. Ball 1-2 and blocked by Charles Johnson. With Bob Uecker and Joe Morgan, Bob Costas at Pro Player Stadium for Game 3 of the National League Championship Series, which is tied at a game apiece. And Atlanta leads here 2-1 in the 6th. Called strike. Something that must really have Jim Leland gritting his teeth is that he let Tony Saunders bat in the bottom of the 5th when the Marlins had a threat going. They had 2 men on and 2 out, and he struck out to end the inning, and then just a few hitters later, he's out of the game. 1-2.
See, Andrew Jones, a different hitter now. He's not as aggressive because they've thrown him so many pitches out of the strike zone and breaking pitches. He no longer attacks the ball. Taking a lot more strikes than he ever did before. He was always a very aggressive hitter.
Broken bat roller toward the hole, and it's through there for a base hit.
Another good pitch by Hernandez. He gets in on his fist. He got out away from Lopez. He gets in on his fist, breaks his bat, but Jones strong enough to fight it off right there, and he gets it through the hole for a base hit. Right off the fist, you could hear the bat break up here, but he found the right slot.
Klesko, who singled and popped out against Saunders. Faces Hernandez with 2 on and 2 out and a run home. A big cut and a miss. Some of the Marlins, most notably Gary Sheffield, were ticked off because Klesko admired his Game 2 home run. Let the bat fall out of his hands in that signature fashion and just stood there, and Klesko said, hey, I do that all the time. I was just hoping the ball stayed fair. No offense intended. But if they take offense, too bad. Dalton races to the bag himself. That finishes Klesko and the Braves. They get a run and take the lead after 5.5. Jane Fonda, as you see, fortified against the elements. We're going to the bottom half of the 6th with her Atlanta Braves leading it here 2-1 with Joe Morgan and Mr. Baseball Bob Uecker. Bob Costas here for Game 3 of the National League Championship Series. John Smoltz back to work. He's allowed only 2 hits and struck out 8 through 5. And Cangelosi slices one foul to begin the bottom of the 6th. Here's the book on Tony Saunders. He worked 5 1/3, allowed 4 hits, 3 walks, struck out 3. And is charged with the 2 runs, of course. The 4th inning run was unearned. One and 2.
Well, Smoltz, as we expected tonight. Power, we talked about it at the top of the telecast. Great fastball. He's got the good splitter and slider tonight. He struck out 8. Ball and 2 strikes here on Cangelosi. He's got Marlins hitters chasing that pitch upstairs, that high fastball. And it's so tough to get on top of it. Just missed with a slider that time on Cangelosi.
And the fastball is hit well to center field, but Kenny Lofton backs up and takes it. Well, they were big news in Atlanta last summer on their way to gold. Now Kerry Strug, Shannon Miller, and the rest of the Magnificent Seven are reunited for the first time as John Hancock presents the gold medal gymnastics reunion tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern Time on NBC. Ted Turner returns to his seat. He was among the missing when we saw Jane Fonda on camera a moment ago. It's heartening to see that a man like Ted Turner makes his own run for hot dogs and beer.
If that's indeed what he went for.
Pure speculation, I guess.
Well, on my part, too.
Renteria is 0 for 2. Smacks one toward the gap in left center field. Klesko chases it to the wall. Renteria on his way to second, and he'll stop there with a 1-out double.
Good job there by the Braves outfielders. I mean, they corralled that ball very quickly. Klesko went over and held Renteria to a double because this ball was in the gap and he could have bounded away. Now watch him. And he gets over there very quickly, waits for the carom, and gets it back in. And they hold Renteria to a double.
All the rain we've had here in the last couple of days, Joe, really killed that ball, too. When it got in the gap, you saw that big divot pop up, and it really slowed it down.
Fans are on their feet because it's Sheffield's turn. Here's what he did last time. Over the scoreboard atop the fence and left, and that tied the game at 1. The Braves moved in front again with a run in the top half of this 6th inning.
Well, Leo Mazzoni goes out to remind John Smoltz who can hurt him on this ball club and how they want to pitch him. Go back over the scouting report. And I'm sure Bobby Cox sent him out there to remind John.
Mike Cather, who was effective against Houston and retired the only batter he faced in this series so far, throwing in the bullpen.
First pitch will tell you how they want to get him out.
He hit the first pitch out his last time up. Ball 1.
You better not be messing around there. Slider just a little below the knees, but again, out away from Gary Sheffield.
I'm surprised Gary did not hit that ball because it was down the middle of the plate. Even though it was a breaking ball down, it was right in his zone.
Fastball lofted down the left field line. Klesko coming over all the way from shortstop. It's Blauser leaning over into the bullpen and toppling in a valiant pursuit, but he can't come up with it.
I think Blauser realizes how important it is if he can make this play. I mean, it's a great job. Watch, I mean, he just falls right over, reaches out as far as he can, and bounces over. Sheffield hoping it goes foul. What win there is pushing the ball towards left field, because that happened a couple of times earlier in this ball game where foul balls were just pushed out of play.
Sheffield jumping up and down trying to get that baby in that Braves bullpen out there and get it out of play.
Well, he had a pretty good pitch to hit, and he just missed it.
A man at second with 1 out, and Smoltz's 1-1 pitch. Misses 2-1.
Smoltz definitely trying to stay away from Sheffield. Pitch number 102. He jammed Sheffield his first time up. He made a great pitch on him with a fastball inside. Got that little comebacker to the mound.
3 balls and a strike. Renteria, who doubled, is at second with 1 out, representing the tying run.
It's important for Sheffield right here not to go out of the strike zone unless it's middle in and maybe down. But if this pitch is away or up, not go out of the strike zone. Let Bobby Bonilla have a rip.
Cather, the right-hander, throwing. Bonilla, a switch hitter next, better from the left side. Dalton, the left-handed hitter, to follow him. And Sheffield draws a walk.
They were not going to give him much to hit, even though the first pitch wasn't in the spot they wanted. He fouls it out of play, and then from then on, they just say, well, we're not going to take any more chances. Because he was able to pull that fastball when he shouldn't have been looking for it. They realized that they really didn't have a way to pitch to him in that at bat.
Renteria at second. Sheffield at first. Bonilla, who's 0 for 2. And 0 for 9 in the series so far. Hits this one to deep left. Klesko back near the fence. Makes the catch on the track, and the runners will hold.
There's a good fastball by Smoltz and a pitch out away. This is a good pitch. I mean, it's not a bad pitch for Bonilla to go after. It's right around the outside corner. It's about waist high. He just pulled off it a little bit and hit that fly ball to left. Klesko makes the catch in the corner.
Well, let's see where this pitch was on supervision. You can see it's right toward the outside corner. So 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He definitely was not going to be able to pull that pitch, so he went with it. And as you mentioned, he hit it pretty well.
And it's not a pitch that Bobby Bonilla can't handle, Joe. I mean, he can handle pitches that way and go that way and hit them deep.
Dalton is 0 for 2. Down low, ball 1. Lopez takes it down to first, but Sheffield skips back.
Good play by Fred McGriff here on that low throw from Javi Lopez. Here he comes out right behind the hitter and threw that ball a one-hopper, a short hopper, and McGriff picked it out, trying to pick Sheffield off. Catch that pitch and then come out right behind the hitter, a left-handed batter, and go to throw.
Smoltz works 1-1, and this ball is ripped to right, but Andrew Jones misplays it. It goes over his head. Renteria will score. Sheffield will be stopped, and Dalton has a double.
Sheffield was stopped because he couldn't run well. He was not running well. And you mentioned earlier the hamstring is still bothering him. This is a breaking ball that he hangs in the middle of the plate, and Dalton rips it. Andrew Jones is kind of caught in between. He doesn't have time to really get back. He thought he was going to be able to make it, but he can't get back there. That ball was just hit so hard, it took off, and it flies over his head. Now, the problem was that Sheffield just could not score. So he doesn't have time to really retreat because the ball was hit so hard. I think they were playing too shallow, to be honest with you.
He really misplayed that ball.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get a good jump on that ball at all. He never broke when it was hit.
Well, it's hit right at him, and that's where the problems come in. When a line drive is hit right at you, it's hard to react on it.
Devon White will get the intentional walk. They'll take their chances against Charles Johnson with the bases loaded. Smoltz has struck him out twice in this game. But let's look at this inning. Cangelosi began it by hitting the ball hard to center field for the first out. Renteria smacks a double into the gap. Sheffield, as they work very carefully to him, walks. Bonilla flies out to the opposite field, but the ball carried to the warning track. Then Dalton scorches one over Jones' head for a double. Is Smoltz losing something?
Well, the toughest ball for any outfielder to play is the ball lined right at him. And that ball is hit right over his head. As you mentioned, he didn't break back, but that's because when the ball's hit right at you, it's tough to get a good perspective on it. Your depth perception is limited when the ball's hit like that. There you see Alex Fernandez. He's out leading the cheers, and that's why he's still here. He's still here rooting on his teammates.
And that's one of the reasons why he's so popular among his teammates. His season is finished. His career has a question mark over it, and he's here cheering for his pals. Smoltz to Johnson. Strike one swinging. Coming into this at-bat, Charles Johnson is 0 for 15 lifetime. Well, there it is, with 11 strikeouts against Smoltz, including 2 tonight.
Well, it doesn't seem like he's picking the ball up well because he just was, that was like a dragging of his bat through the strike zone. He didn't swing.
Smoltz staying right with fastballs with him. He'll go down and away with a slider on Johnson, too. Struck him out a couple of times, low breaking balls, down and away, really down and away. That sharp breaking slider from Smoltz. And again, I got to argue with the play by Jones. I mean, he never got a jump on that ball. You got to know that ball is really hit hard. Just the crack of the bat. You can hear it down there.
On the corner, 1-2. This is the difference between Smoltz, a great postseason pitcher, and the rookie Saunders. Smoltz is a horse. Smoltz has been in these situations before, and Cox will let him try to pitch his way out of it. Leland hooked Saunders in the top half of this inning. High with a fastball, 2-2. Sheffield at third, Dalton at second, Devon White at first. And the 2-2 pitch.
Well, Charles Johnson may not get another pitch like that the rest of the night from Smoltz anyway.
Well, you see Bobby Cox scratching his head. That was a mistake.
Wow. Hanging slider by Smoltz. Johnson has a heck of a rip and fouls it back. That's right down Main Street, right there. Belt high. Javi Lopez now wants Smoltz to back off. You'll go through a new set of signs.
And one problem with trying to snap that breaking ball off, you have a runner at third, and you can't afford a wild pitch here either, you.
Yep, absolutely.
In the air to left center field and very well hit. Back into the gap, and Klesko's diving attempt is to no avail. 3 runs will score. There's a play at the plate, but sliding home is Devon White. On the double by Charles Johnson. What a time to get his first career hit of John Smoltz.
Well, he was late on the fastball. Smoltz throws him another breaking ball. But again, I think he's aware of the fact he can't bounce it. So he throws it for a strike, and Johnson finds the gap. And a great effort out there by Klesko. I mean, he almost came back down with this ball. He got a good jump on it. He ran to watch him make the dive, and he just misses it out there in left center field. Good hustle there by Klesko.
Now, how big is that miscue by Jones and right on the double by Dalton? Major play now.
They'll walk Counsell to bring up the pitcher, Livan Hernandez.
And one of the reasons they're leaving Smoltz in is because he is the second hitter next in the top of the 7th. And they're going to have to use a pinch hitter anyway, so he wants to get one more hitter out of him if he can.
4 runs home in the Marlins 6th. Turning a 2-1 deficit into a 5-2 lead.
Here it is one more time. Klesko with a major effort just missed that ball. And I mean, he took a dive on the warning track out there. Beautiful effort. Look at that Miami bench. And look at Alex Fernandez. Yep.
Livan Hernandez. Bobby Cox left muttering to himself. Hernandez wants the pine tar rag. Coming into this inning, Smoltz had allowed only 2 hits and had struck out 8. The pitch total mounting, and several balls in this inning were really stung against him. Fouled off down the right field side. Hernandez, and this is rookie season in the major leagues, hit 172 on 5 for 29. He's in a position all of a sudden to be the winning pitcher. How much longer he pitches, though, is an open question because he's scheduled to be the Game 6 starter. Smoltz gets his 9th strikeout, but the Marlins send 9 men to the plate in the 6th. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Tumbled hard, making the diving attempt on the double hit by Charles Johnson, which cleared the bases and gave the Marlins the lead.
I mean, this is a great effort. Now look at his left hand. He tries to break his fall with it, and he had a sore wrist early in the season, and he said it got better as the season went along, but see right there, he's clenching his fist. But that was a great effort on his part.
Let's go down to Jim Gray.
All right, Bob, it's actually the inside of his wrist. It was the other side of his wrist, which was hurt earlier in the season. Right now, it's the inside and the inner elbow part. He just told the training staff he wants to stay in the game. He's going to try and shake it off, but he is in considerable pain down here and is clearly hampered by it. Bob?
With the right-hander Hernandez on the mound, Graffinino is pulled back, and Keith Lockhart is sent up to hit for him. Among Lockhart's 3 hits through the first 2 games of this series, a double and a triple. And he sends this one into center field over Renteria's head for a pinch hit. He had 15 pinch hits during the regular season to lead the team. Don't forget the NFL on NBC on Sunday. The pregame show is at noon Eastern time. Chris Collinsworth has a visit with Jets running back Adrian Morrell, plus Paul McGuire from his hometown of Buffalo visits with the Bills All-Pro Bruce Smith. We'll also have an interview with Emmitt Smith and much more. Greg Gumbel, Ahmad Rashad, Sam Weiss, Chris Collinsworth and company. And it's followed by regional action, Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots, Bengals, Oilers.
Let me check that lineup again, Bobby. Let me check that lineup again. Check the game.
Tommy Gregg, meanwhile, will be the second straight pinch hitter. Gregg was Marlin property a year ago, and he hit .286 with 22 home runs for their AAA Charlotte farm, but never got a call up to the big club. This year, he led the International League, hitting .332 at Richmond, the Braves AAA farm. He was called up just before September 1st in order to be eligible for the postseason. Left center field, Cangelosi closing on it and makes a diving catch.
Here's that catch by John Cangelosi coming on hard. A beautiful grab. Cangelosi, a goat earlier tonight. Jim Leland had a little talk with him after a base running boner, but there's a beautiful diving catch by John to take a base hit away.
So they're going to have both Smiths on the pregame.
Emmitt and Bruce, baby.
Yeah.
One's doing it, Paul McGuire. I'm checking it out.
I want to see if Emmitt's going to score any touchdowns.
I'll be there in person. I'm not checking it out. I'll be back Monday, Tuesday, maybe. I'll see you guys.
We'll charter a plane for you. Lofton's 1 for 3. That'll make the seats and out of play. So Bobby Cox going to his bench here in the 7th. Lockhart delivers a pinch single, and Gregg almost follows with a hit, but Cangelosi makes a nice play in left. Inside to Lofton. A lot of people criticized the Braves' lack of reserve strength. They were 0 for 22 pinch hitting in the 1996 postseason. They've improved themselves in that regard this year.
Well, especially from the left-handed side with Lockhart and Gregg.
1-2 pitch. Outside 2-2. So John Smoltz is done. And unless his team rallies, he stands to lose for the 3rd time in postseason. A nice play by Dalton, and he goes for the lead runner. Does Renteria recover? He does. Oh, what a terrific play on both ends.
Well, it's an excellent play by Conine. They've actually put Conine in at first base.
You're right, Joe.
He made a great diving stop, but he made the mistake of really, this is a mistake. He should just take one at first base. Trying to make this play could have caused a lot of problems, but you have to give Renteria a lot of credit. You see, he reaches right there. He tags Lockhart as he stepped on the bag, and he was called out.
Lockhart might have been in there, Joe. I think Renteria made the tag late. Watch Lockhart's foot. Great play by Renteria to save the bad throw from Conine. I think Lockhart's in there. And again, Gregg may have been blocked out on the play by Renteria. Watch this. He's in there. It looks like he's in there. He gets the bag, then is tagged by Renteria, tumbles over the bag, and Eric Gregg gives him the out call.
So Blauser now with 2 out, taking a strike.
Yet another bad base running play, though. He should be sliding here.
Absolutely.
I mean, if he slides, there's no tag at all. I mean, ground ball, slide. I mean, Right there, he reaches and tags him.
He's in there, though. His foot got in there before the tag by Renteria. And Eric Gregg with a couple of calls at second base tonight.
So Dalton had delivered a big double in the bottom half of the 6th and then was replaced for defense by Conine at first base. Here in the top half of the 7th, that slipped by us, and it was Conine who has sparkled with the glove in this series, immediately turning in a terrific play. He's been with the Marlins every year of their existence, their brief existence, dating back to '93. The 0-2 pitch.
We saw Jim Thome make a play like that in Cleveland that was just a perfect throw in that situation, but that was too difficult to play right there with a 3-run lead.
Got him. Hernandez finishes Blauser and the Braves in the 7th. A partial moon over Miami as the Marlins come up in the bottom half of the 7th against Mike Cather. Keith Lockhart, who pinch hit for Tony Graffinino, stays in the game and plays second base. One and one to Cangelosi, who's 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. Top of the 4th. Florida tied it on Sheffield's homer in the bottom half. The Braves took the lead again with a single run in the top of the 6th. But then Florida scored 4 times in the bottom half. 5-2 Marlins. In the air to right, Andrew Jones again with a little bit of an adventure. But he's able to make the play this time. An NBC original event, Halloween weekend, 3 Legends of Evil. 1997, an NBC original event. November 2nd. Make sure the doors are locked. Renteria, who started the 4-run rally in the 6th with a 1-out double.
I don't know what it is with Andrew Jones. I don't know if he's not picking that ball up off the bat. I mean, when it leaves the bat, if he's losing those balls in the crowd, but whatever it is, he didn't get a good jump on that ball either. It either apparently fooled him or he lost it.
Well, and that one wasn't hit directly at him. And he's supposed to be, the Braves say he's their best outfielder.
Not tonight. Looks like you'll have another chance here. And this one's routine. Back to Sheffield, who's bounced to the box, homered and walked. Even though they got out of Atlanta with a split, the Marlins had only 1 earned run in those 2 games and just 9 hits in the 18 innings. Then through the first 5 innings against Smoltz, other than Sheffield's homer, they weren't doing much, and Smoltz had struck out 8. But the bats came alive in the 6th. And this ball is hit like a shot into left. Klesko was virtually playing him on the warning track. And it's a 2-out single.
Gary Sheffield with his second base hit tonight. Line single to left with 2 outs here in the 7th inning. There's again a slider down low and away from Cather. He turned it right around and lines it to left. Not only his hits tonight, Bob, but that big key play on Chipper Jones's throw back to Dalton on that ball hit to right field, and they eventually get Jones after he rounded the bag to take the Braves out of what really could have been a big inning.
Lockhart dives but can't get it. Bonilla has a hit. Sheffield stops at second.
Sheffield is not running well, so no chance for him to try to go to third on this. Bonilla rips the ball past Lockhart. He makes a dive, but it goes under his glove. As you see, Garrett Sheffield is just trotting around. He may have a tough time trying to score on a hard single because he's not running well.
I just think he told Bobby Bonilla, don't be running up my back. I'm not running that well. Don't run up my back on a base hit or something in the gap. If I'm not going to score, don't be running up my back.
Conine's first at bat of the night. He goes to right field. Jones makes all 3 putouts. Singles by Sheffield and Bonilla in the inning, but they're both left on. It's 5-2 Florida after 7. The new pitcher is the durable and well-traveled Dennis Cook. His pitching numbers are fairly impressive, but not as impressive as his hitting statistics this year. His batting average for the season was .556, admittedly in only 9 at-bats, but he was 5 for 9, including 2 for 2 as a pinch hitter. One of those pinch hits won a game here in August against the Braves in the 12th inning. And for his career, he's a .276 hitter.
I hate that. I know one thing, he's done a good job in postseason.
Chipper Jones is the first hitter to face him in the 8th. So that really burns you up.
I hate that.
When a pitcher is a lifetime .276 hitter.
Quit reading that.
When a pitcher's got 76 lifetime points on you. He, like Livan Hernandez, sporting the 32 on the cap for Alex Fernandez. He makes a nice play, runs it halfway to the bag, and then underhands it to Conine to retire Chipper Jones.
I don't know if he knew he had it right away, but he did. He had to take a second look. This ball is hit pretty well by Jones. One hopper right back at Dennis Cook. Watch this reaction. He knew he got a glove on it, but he didn't know it was in there yet. Ah, there it is. And the underhand toss to Conine. Here it is again. Good play on a sharply hit ground ball. He had to take a second look to see if it was in there.
Now Freddie McGriff, 1 for 2 with a sacrifice fly, facing Dennis Cook, who turned 35 a week ago. He's with his 7th big league club, speaking of Cook.
Bad enough you got to face a left-hander, and for a guy who normally doesn't do that, Dennis Cook just dropped down sidearm style on Freddie McGriff. Normally you don't see him do it on the first pitch. Normally after a pitcher gets ahead of a guy or gets ahead of a hitter, you'll drop down once in a while, but he did it the first pitch.
This is the book on Fred McGriff.
Well, he likes the ball out over the plate. You pitch him inside, off the corner inside, in fact. And you try to throw him sliders off the plate, and he will chase him sometimes. And the left-hander basically the same way. Fastballs in and give him a chase a breaking ball away on occasion.
Foul back.
You know, that likes the ball out over the plate is pretty much dead on for everybody.
Pretty standard, huh?
I mean, if you like it under the plate, you ain't going to play much in this league.
Well, I think Gary Sheffield likes it middle of the plate in.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't like it out over the plate.
Yeah, there's a few guys, but I'm saying for the most part,
right,
everybody likes it right down the pipe.
Look at Cook's cap. That's that nasty, sweaty-looking thing made popular by John Wetland in last year's postseason with the Yankees. Sticking with the same cap from spring training right on through October. 2-2.
The best looking thing on a cap is the 32.
That was put on there tonight.
Hey, that's his lucky cap. Don't knock it.
I don't know if that's sweater, just a couple of more Marlins that he tacked on there.
Now McGriff steps out. Cook perpetually wears the expression of a man who can't quite believe what's going on. He's just kind of squinting in there with a look on his face that sort of says, huh? Yeah, I guess so. Sidearm again, and McGriff taps it foul at the plate.
There's that nasty sidearm fastball. Hey, what's going on, man? It's bad enough. Stay up on top. Look at this. Sidearm nasty fastball. And what's even worse is those guys that have that big curveball, that big sweeping sidearm curveball, Joe. Here it is again. The red ball indicates where it left or where it started when Cook let it go. And the white is the break on the ball as it either goes away or dips down.
Now watch Cook peering in again. What do you mean you're out of soup? I come here every day for soup.
I don't have a 7.
And he strikes McGriff out.
And truthfully, followed the scouting report perfectly there. A lot of fastballs in and breaking balls off the plate away. Comes back in for the strikeout. This is the fastball back inside. And McGriff swings over the top of it. And here's a look at the pitches. You can see most of them inside. Slider away. The yellow one was the last pitch, 91-mile-an-hour fastball.
Javi Lopez bats with 2 out and nobody on in the 8th. Had a sacrifice fly his last time up. The Marlins lead it 5-2. And the Braves are down to just 4 outs. For those of you who follow the Braves, this is not news, and many people outside Atlanta all around the country do because of the Superstation. Lopez had a fractured thumb, left thumb, early in the year. Has come back from that. To hit .295.
Well, his sellout crowd here on their feet once again. All of the games in this series are sold out, if indeed they do go all the way, and it seems evident now that things are going the way of the Marlins. Could
well,
wrap it up.
Tonight.
The Braves are fighting for a win in this game tonight. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Marlin fans mocking the Braves with a tomahawk chop. 1-2 to Lopez. Javi hit 23 home runs to go with his .295 batting average. Two and two.
And Dennis Cook hit the deck that time. He slipped a little bit as he tried to hit the outside corner with this fastball. There it is. You see it. That little tailing fastball that all left-handers have, and Cook hits the deck as he slips. Pitch missed outside.
And he goes down swinging. Cook retires the side in order, striking out the last 2. To the bottom of the 8th, 5-2 Florida. New pitcher for the Braves, Kerry Lightenberg, as we go to the bottom of the 8th. A mild surprise that he was placed on the postseason roster. Began the season in A-ball at Greenville. Devon White hits it up the middle slowly, but in a good spot. Base hit. For the first time since winning Olympic gold in Atlanta, Kerry struck Shannon Miller and the rest of the Magnificent Seven are reunited as John Hancock presents the gold medal gymnastics reunion. That's tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern time. Following that, we're back here with game 4 of this series, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific.
Standing ovation for Charles Johnson.
And that big bases clearing double back in the 6th inning.
And the chant of CJ, CJ. He had never had a hit off John Smoltz. Hadn't even been close. 11 strikeouts in 15 previous at-bats. Here he tries to sacrifice and fouls it back. But what a time to come through as he doubles into the left center field gap. Sending home 3. And snapping the 2-2 tie. That's where we stand now, 5-2 in the bottom of the 8th.
I'm a little surprised that Leland attempted a bunt there, because you got Counsell up and then the bottom of the order, you know, the pitcher spot, who is probably pinch hit for, but you're not going to pinch hit for Counsell because he's your best defensive second baseman, and the Braves have a left-hander warming in the bullpen, and Johnson can put this game out of reach.
A ball and a strike. Donnelly flashing signs from the third base coach's box. Chipper Jones in on the grass. McGriff holding White at first. Johnson's not bunting this time, but he takes ball 2.
See, with one swing of the bat, he can break this game wide open, so I'm a little surprised that you'd play for 1 run in this situation.
Johnson hit 19 homers during the year.
Might you not send White here on a hit-and-run play?
He takes off, and he gets the bunt down, so this will work. Out at first, and White moves on to scoring position.
Well, he had him moving, Joe, on the bunt attempt, and again, you take a chance there. A ball popped up. You take a chance on doubling up the runner, but Johnson executes perfectly, and Devon White winds up at second base.
And he also told Moises Alou to get a bat.
Jim Eisenreich has moved into the on-deck circle. With the pitcher spot due, they'll turn to Rob Nen to close this thing in the 9th, no doubt. But just in case they should switch to a left-hander, he would have Alou available, and he could pull Eisenreich back.
Jim Leland told us before the game he was available. He said he watched him hit up in the cages, Bob, and said he was okay. Talking about Alou.
Counsell's 1 for 2, plus an intentional walk. Alou probably would have started tonight against anyone other than Smoltz, but he had no success against John. And John Cangelosi, meanwhile, was 10 for 19 lifetime against Smoltz. White at second with 1 out of the 8th. Leitenberg misses down and away. Former Braves catcher Greg Olson was managing an independent team. Spotted this kid Leitenberg, liked him, called the Braves and recommended him. He's made an unlikely jump all the way up the ladder from A-ball to the major leagues. And he's done it in short order. The 2-1 pitch. Hit deep to right, but foul.
Craig Counsell on an inside fastball. Hit it foul. He knew right away as soon as he hit it, he knew where it was going. There you see it right down Main Street. And I mean right there.
Full count.
That's where Leitenberg wants to be. A little sinking fastball away from Counsell. And Alou getting ready.
Eisenreich, the potential pinch hitter, waiting on deck. There's the 38-year-old veteran. Former twin, Royal and Philly. This ball is popped back of third. Klesko over, Blauser racing over, and Klesko gets there. That's the second out with White back to second base. Eisenreich has turned back into the dugout. And here comes Alou. So even though they stick with the right-hander Leitenberg, Leland wants to get Alou, who will probably play tomorrow, and at bat here. His leading RBI man for the season with 115 during the regular campaign. Ball one.
Be able to tell on his first cut, Joe, whether that thing is bothering him at all or not. Didn't chase that low outside slider.
Down low, 2-0. Despite the wrist injury, yesterday was a happy day for Moises Alou. He and his wife Austria welcomed their third child, third son as a matter of fact. Baby boy Kirby arrived yesterday. Labor was induced since it was an off day. Oh. 2-1. And a strike to Alou. Batting for Dennis Cook. Marlins leading 5-2 in the bottom of the 8th. Full count.
What he threw a couple of breaking balls down low and away on Moises, and then that looked like a change of pace, Joe. 81 miles an hour. Here it is again from Leitenberg. That's what it is, a little change of pace, palm ball or whatever, and Alou couldn't pull the trigger.
Now the payoff, and he strikes him out. Pulled the string on him a little bit, and the Marlins take.
NBC's coverage of the National League Championship Series is brought to you by Fidelity Investments, where 12 million investors put their trust. By Toyota, every day belongs to you. Make it count. Toyota every day. By the United States Postal Service, we deliver. And by the 68,000 professionals at Delta Airlines.
Rob Nen asked to close it here. Just about untouchable against Atlanta this year. Michael Tucker pinch hits for Andrew Jones, the starter of the ninth.
How about the job by Dennis Cook again tonight, Bob? 2 games in this series, 2 1/3 innings, no hits, no runs, 5+ innings in postseason play. Has yet to give up a run.
This year, Atlanta batters are 3 for 30 against Rob Nen. Michael Tucker, important pickup in the Jermaine Dye deal with Kansas City. Behind on the count, 1-2. Keith Lockhart also came over to join Bobby Cox's team, and a deal swung with Kansas City by John Schuerholz, Jermaine Dye, and Jamie Walker going to the Royals. The 1-2 pitch. He lays off, and it's 2-2.
Bobby Cox really has to be upset with the way that they played. Not only, the mistake by Andrew Jones, but the base running of Chipper Jones took him out of a big inning. They've made a lot of mistakes in these first 3 ball games.
Out of play. Well, if this score holds up, in a way, it's a microcosm of the Marlins season. Charles Johnson surprisingly becoming not just what he always has been, a great defensive catcher, but a dangerous late inning hitter. That was a big story in the second half of the season for them, and a story tonight. Livan Hernandez surprisingly giving the Marlins pitching help, and the Marlins continuing to play well against Atlanta. If this score holds up, it means they've won 10 out of 15 head-to-head against the Braves this year.
Well, Charles Johnson, he set up there with nothing against Smoltz and finally gets a hanging slider. He got two of them, really.
Tucker lofts one into right. There's the first out.
Actually got two of them, and Johnson missed the first one, then hits the big double.
Well, there wasn't any one clear-cut choice, but it was Johnson's bases-loaded double that snapped the tie and made the score what it is now, 5-2. So he's tonight's Chevy Player of the Game. Ryan Klesko, who's 1 for 3. High and away for a ball. Rob Nen was a starting pitcher for a long stretch in the Rangers organization. And in the early 90s, he was on the disabled list 7 times while Texas property, and eventually they just gave up on him. Found his role as a reliever and has become one of the game's best. His 1-1 pitch coming to Klesko. Line to center, but caught by the charging White. The Braves are 1 out away from going down 2-1, but remember, in last year's National League Championship Series, they trailed 3-1 to the Cardinals and won 3 straight to take a trip to the World Series. The mock chop being offered by many of the fans here as they mock the Braves. Lockhart, who replaced Graffinino in the 7th, singled his only time up. Two and 1. Rob Nen is the son of Dick Nen, former first baseman with the Dodgers, the Senators for most of his career, and the Cubs. His 2-1 pitch to Lockhart. In the air to center field. Devon White is waiting. The Marlins have won 2 out of 3 from the Braves. Livan Hernandez gets the win, and John Smoltz loses for just the 3rd time against 10 victories in his postseason career. We'll be back to wrap things up after this. Tony Saunders got the Marlins as far as the 6th, and here's what their bullpen did. Hernandez, Cook, and Nen, 3 2/3. They allowed just 2 hits and no runs, no walks, and 3 strikeouts between them. Charles Johnson's bases-loaded double produced 3, snapped a 2-all tie in the bottom of the 6th, and won it for the Marlins 5-2. Tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern, Kerry Strug, Shannon Miller, and the rest of America's gold medal winning gymnasts are reunited for the first time as John Hancock presents the gold medal gymnastics reunion. Then the National League Championship Series continues at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific with Game 4 from Florida. Tonight, after your late local news, it's The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Jay's guests are Alexandra Wentworth and John Cryer. That's tonight, following your late local news on NBC. For Jim Gray, Joe Morgan, Bob Uecker, Elliot Kalb, and Jeff Sleet in the booth, I'm Bob Costas. This has been a presentation of NBC Sports, home of the '97 World Series.